Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books are sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
I'd like to welcome everybody back to the Football's Family Podcast. It's been a little bit, but I'm glad to be back, and mainly because of what's coming up. Now, I'll be the first to admit something that I could have done better in college. I probably could have made a better GPA. I was happy with my 3.0 GPA. You know, D equals diploma, so I got a little bit better than that. But I probably could have done better. And part of the problem was, well, I say this, there's a couple of problems. Number one, GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64. That game was a GPA killer my freshman year. Sophomore year, Mario Party 1 and 2, my junior and senior years. It was bad. I don't apologize for anything. I own it. Could have done better. But one of the things that really got me is when I got a PlayStation. I bought a PlayStation. I did something. I think I spoke at a church and they gave me $250 for speaking twice. Just so happened to be as much as it cost to get a PlayStation at the Walmart Dixon. So I got it, and it came with a game, and I got a NASCAR game. Then I started noticing that they had football games, and you're not able to see this, but I'm looking across. I have the Madden 2001, EA Sports Madden 2001 with Eddie George on the cover, autographed. I got to meet Eddie George, got it autographed. That was awesome. I played all the Madden games from that point on. It's just been it's been pretty good, and then it's gotten worse. The Madden games have not been that great in sense of replayability and things like that. Although, if you do it right, it can have fun if you play long enough. But the one game that my friends and I really played was the NCAA, EA Sports NCAA college football. We played hours and hours and hours. You see where I could have been studying during this whole process. Freed-Hardeman University, I apologize for this, but hours, 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 hours. We would start with seasons. We would make franchises where we'd build up our teams. In fact, one of my friends had New Mexico, the Lobos, and he won a national championship with them. When I had Central Michigan, I couldn't recruit worth a hoot. It was just not good. We played games. The most famous play that I ever did was the Immaculate Deception when I was playing as Purdue. Drew Brees had to go to the right because I was losing the game. I had to get out of bounds, and I pressed the button to speed up so I could get out of bounds and stop the clock. Ended up throwing the ball on the other side of the field, scaring me to death because I didn't know where he was throwing the ball. Just so happens to be one of my players running at that point on the sideline, catches the ball, ran in, scored a touchdown, we win. That game helped me to win a national championship. In fact, that game should have been a kicker to a great season. I had a man in that team, I don't know who it was, who had 2,500 to 3,000 yards total offense. We would basically get the ball, go back on the 1 yard line, and just give it to the same guy. We played on easy, by the way. Well, I go to class, come back, and my friends are just laughing as hard as they can. They said, "You lost the Heisman." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" My friend in one game got over 1,000 all-purpose yards from one guy. 1,000 all-purpose yards from one guy. That hurts so much because I could have had the Heisman there. Now, that being said, much later on, for the, I believe for the PlayStation 2 or 3, I believe it was for the 3. No, excuse me, for the 2. The last NCAA game that they released, and I'm looking at every one of them right now. Let me pull down here. It was NCAA 14. Was it 14? Yeah, NCAA 14 was the last one released. It had a cheat code in it. the same cheat code that you would find in one of the Madden games. I think it was 2002 or 2003. The cheat code in Madden was Michael Vick. The cheat code in the 14 was cheat code in 14 was Johnny Manziel. I just thought it'd be pretty cool because I'm not a Texas A&M fan by any means, but I thought it'd be cool to have him and see what he could do. Turns out he wins games on his own. He never got tired. You could throw for 400 yards and run for 200 yards. He won the Heisman Trophy for me that year. And I thought, this is kind of cheating. So when my buddy and I started playing each other, he would pick another team and I'd pick Texas A&M, and Johnny would just run ragged on him. And we eventually had to say, in order to maintain our friendship, we don't play as Texas A&M. But I'm looking at all these games, and I remember playing all these games, NCAA 9, 8. When the main ones that we played in college were 99 and 2000, mainly because these are the games that were available. And being college students, we didn't really have a lot of money. We would rent the newer ones, but if we had a game and we were kind of used to it and we were doing fine with it, we would play it. We also had, if you had a PlayStation 1, you know what I'm talking about, we had to have a memory card. Well, the problem with a memory card is if you're playing multiple games on it, you'd have to be careful because you run out of space. That's why you always had to have 2 memory cards or 3 if you had one for these games. These games were huge. On my PlayStation 5 right now, I have a lot of space. I'm clearing the space out because coming up in another week or so, just a little bit over a week, the NCAA 25 is coming out. EA Sports College Football 25 is coming out. I've got it pre-ordered, got it ready to go. It is ready to go. It's been 11 years. It's been 11 years. And if you're like me, college football, I'm not the biggest college football fan. I mean, my thing is pros. I watch more pro game than I do college, although I've watched a lot more college games lately. I don't know if I agree with paying the college students, although I think that if they do the work, they deserve the pay. But I also know that with this game coming out, that a lot of those same college students are going to actually be able to play the game that they're in. Because if I read correctly, EA Sports, in order to get the license, number one, had to pay for it, obviously, but they had to, if they used the likeness of the people, they had to pay them, I believe it was $600 per person, plus give them a copy of the game. Now, a college student, to me, the $600 would go a long way, but they're also getting paid as well. But the fact that you have the game, well, you have to have the system, number one. But the fact that you have the game, that's awesome to me. You remember what started this? Ed O'Bannon, way back in the day, sued college, basically college sports, EA Sports, all these things, because they were using the likeness of the players without compensating for them, for those players. You remember that's why Reggie Bush got his Heisman back, because they're like, you know what, if we're making it legal now, let's go back and give him the Heisman. And I'm glad he accepted it. It was he was probably one of the best players I've ever watched. But over this time, they were trying to figure out how they could make this game legal and make this game available. There was always a need for this game. There was always a market for this game. Madden is one thing, but to be able to build up a college program by recruiting and pipeline and things like that, it's just awesome. Madden, you get to have free agents and you draft, but this one you get to build up. And a lot of you will probably, if you get this game, you'll probably want to play your favorite team. I don't really have what you call a favorite college team. I guess it would be the Tide, but I am in Tennessee country, so I don't know. I was a Vanderbilt fan growing up. I don't want to touch them with a 10-foot pole right now, but what I do is I find a team that is a D rating and try to build them up. Usually it takes 2 to 3 seasons to do that. What I have a problem with doing is recruiting. It's not that I don't know how to recruit. It's just there's so many things going on in a recruiting battle that you have to pay attention to every week that if you let the computer do it, they're never going to give you anybody good. And sometimes you have to fill out your roster with 1 to 2 star players. And you're going, it's like my friend had 5 star recruits and I had 3 star recruits. And all I thought is I have to hold the ball the entire game or I'm going to lose. And even though I held the ball for the most part, he boat raced me the entire time. I think I might have scored 1 touchdown and he scored 70. It was pitiful. Recruits make the difference. If you want to know why Michigan or Alabama or Oregon or Florida or Miami back in the day, or even now like North Carolina or any team like that are doing well or relatively well, is because they know how to recruit. People want to go to that. So as you're playing this game, if you're not recruiting people, if you're not part of the recruiting battle, you're going to miss out on some fun. Don't let the computer do it for you because they're never going to give you what you need. First thing I would do is try to get a high recruit quarterback. I like the dual threat type quarterbacks. I also love the running quarterback, but I'm not really good at the triple option because I don't have the timing down. It's been 11 years, to be honest. And you can't really do that in Madden because, oh, the defensive ends are just way too fast. But if you have it, if you're playing a Navy or an Army, Air Force not so much, but if you're playing a Navy or an Army, recruiting is going to be hard for them, by the way. But you have to play the triple option because of how your team is built. It's not going to be the most athletic or powerful team. It's going to be one that's built upon maneuvering and blocking and tackling. You could build up a team there, but at the same time, it's going to be hard because if it's realistic, you're not going to recruit people who think they can make it to the NFL. You're going to recruit people who want to be in the military, who have that desire and that fire in them to be in the military. Very respectful, obviously. You think about as well that the SEC is going to be bigger this year with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma. How does that play into your desire to play as an SEC team? The only team that you can really build up in the SEC conference would be Southeastern Conference, I should say, is Vanderbilt. The rest of them are mid to upper. Vanderbilt is never going to be mid unless they actually emphasize football. What they're really doing now is just going after money. But just look around. Would you pick Michigan or Ohio State? Would you pick a Purdue like I did back when Drew Brees was playing? Would you go up and pick some of the northern teams or a mid-major team or a team that's not in the Power Five? Would you do that? Would you pick a Boise State, which has one of the coolest fields out there? They're blue. It really hurts my eyes because I really can't see color, but I could see that for definitely. Which one would you do? And here's the thing that I really enjoy about the coming of the game. I have watched, if you have not watched the introduction to this game, they have shown the introduction. You can find it on Twitter. You can find it on the internet, wherever. It makes you want to play this game. It basically, welcome to the jungle. And then they add in the middle of it, they add the snare drums. I'm like, oh, let's play the pageantry. This is what I want. I want to hear the fight songs. I want to see Dixieland Delight. I want to hear Rocky Top. Of course, I don't know, unless I'm playing as Tennessee, I don't know if I want to hear Rocky Top. But even if I'm playing as Central Michigan, the Chippewas, or even if I'm playing as Northern Iowa or Iowa, whatever, I'm going to go when I get confident enough. I'm going to go to a stadium like that in order to build up my rankings. So if I beat them, my rankings will move up. If I lose, I'm not going to fall very far. You have to build up your team. You play weaker people at the very beginning, but if you really want to make jumps, you have to play harder teams at their home. You can't just play them. If you're Wyoming, you can't play Tennessee at Wyoming. you're still probably going to get boat raced. But if you go to Tennessee with that stadium, with that fan base, you go to the Big House with Michigan, you go to Ohio State, you go to USC, you go to LSU on Saturday night. Good gracious, good luck with that. You will find that if you beat them, you will find that your team could jump. I'm looking forward to that. I want to watch. I'm not going to skip anything. I want to watch Bebo run across the stage if I play at a field, if I play at Texas. I want to see Florida State. I want to see all these things, the pageantry. I never had that. I was a Vanderbilt fan. They really didn't have any of those things. And the college I went to didn't have a football team. There wasn't anything like that. But if I were to go 3 or 4 hours, or probably 5 hours east of here at UT, they have the Vol Wall. They have Rocky Top. They have the running through the T. That's college football to me. And where you are as a fan, if you're in Penn State, you have the whiteout. If you're in Oregon, you have some of the greatest, greatest uniforms ever made. If you have any of those things, you have something that is special. Many of you have gone to colleges that now every Saturday you have you have a ritual that you do to get ready for the game. Maybe you go to the game. Maybe you listen to it on the radio. I used to listen to Austin P football on the radio. I used to watch Vanderbilt, or here in the South, it's 2:30 on CBS. SEC football. We'd watch SEC football. It didn't really matter what it was. Closer to the end of the year in October, it's always going to show Alabama, Tennessee. Always going to show Alabama, Tennessee, because that is the big thing in this area. Georgia, you think that people down in Georgia are not looking forward to this game. I imagine we're going to see a whole lot of G's around here. You think about Arkansas, you think about Kentucky. A lot of the stuff, I'm very familiar with Southeastern Conference, the reason why I'm saying that. I'm looking forward to this, and it's not only because of how this game is made, but I'm looking forward to this game because of how long it took to get here. When you look forward to something and you think, well, it's never going to happen, and then it does, and they tell you the date, and you're looking at it, and you're saying, holy cow, it's coming up. It's coming up, and then it gets here, and then it doesn't let you go. I'm looking at some of the things on Forbes.com talking about this. It's really cool, and they said there's a new kicking system. I always hated when games changed the kicking system. At one point, it was the X button, I believe, for Xbox, and then you had to use the sticks to kick it. I'm like, just pick one to stay with it. The weather, it says the weather game is impacted. Weather impacted gameplay. I hope so. I hope if I go up north, or being Central Michigan, you're up there anyway. If I play them, or Akron or Toledo, whatever it may be in the MAC, I hope that there's snow and it's driving. I hope that it is, because I want to be a part of that. So you're not going to pass the ball. You can just get a smash mouth college football. Let me tell you something. And I want to read something to you, and then we're going to call it a night. And I appreciate you listening to this. I was playing as Vanderbilt in one of these games, and I forgot what it was. And my team was just getting boat raced every week. I just couldn't do anything. So I created a guy, and just so happened that I was so inventful with his name. It was Jeremy McFarland. So inventful of his name. Just created it. And I made him 100 on everything. I didn't think they would let me do that, but they did. And I put him as a linebacker. Oh, it was awesome. That dude ran roughshod over everybody. Interceptions, sacks, all that stuff. But I still couldn't play offense. Nothing would happen. I would rush for 5 or 6 yards, pass for 2, and then have to punt. So I thought, Wonder if I put this guy on offense. You remember when Deion Sanders did that many years ago? What if I put this guy on offense, what he would do? I made him my tailback, rush for 200 or 300 yards, knocking people down, scoring 6 or 7 touchdowns, and play defense. I thought there's the cheat code. I think EA Sports realized that and didn't let that happen again because they have something called, being human. You can't be 100%, and you have to have the ability to breathe. But that was one of those things I thought and I did win the championship. He did win the Heisman. I did win the championship. All I can say is, it's okay. I'm not apologizing for it. Just deal with it. But I want to read something to you, and I found this on Facebook, so it's not going to be wrong. Your friends all just came over and ordered a bunch of pizza and Mountain Dew. You fired up NCAA football on your Xbox. No school tomorrow. The adults don't care if you stay up all night. A perfect summer evening. You are 43 years old. The year is 2024. Can I get an amen from the crowd? Thank you for listening to this episode of Football's Family.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, aka the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.